Okay, good evening, everybody. This sessions that we have tonight is game management. Actually, the game management that we are going to be talking about first is going to be game management beyond players and coaches. And actually, Ross, is that the one that we have on here now?
Just a minute.
What we're going to look at here is for tonight's things, I will be covering part of the sessions, and then David will be covering the back end of the session too. So you get the 2-for-1 deal tonight. So there we go. More than players and coaches, game management. So the question we have right off the bat is, when does game management start? Does it start when the game starts, when problems arise? And I see Ryan has his hand up, but give me a second here. When we show up at the field, or when we contact our partners? Ryan, since I've seen your hand up already, why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know when you think it starts?
For me, I believe it starts when you're on the way to the ball field. I know it's hard because when we all have jobs and everything of that nature. So when you're preparing, you should probably start on your way to the ball field, preparing yourself for some scenarios that could occur, or preparing yourself for when you first show up at the ball field, that you are getting lineups, you're getting yourself together, and make sure you're getting with your partner and discussing things. So
okay,
I believe it starts at the beginning of your day.
Yeah, in some cases that it starts on the like you said, when you go on your way to the field. Another time it may be when you find out who your partners are and you look at the game situation that's coming up. For some of us that work league play, it may not be that big of a deal, but when we get into a tournament situation and we draw the first game, we see who our partners are, we see the game situation, that's when we have to start going with it. A lot of our umpires think game management is nothing but dealing with players and coaches. And hopefully in the next few slides, we'll be able to discuss more than just dealing with players and coaches. So Ross, if you don't mind. Before we arrive, one of the things that we want to do is like I said, we're going to contact our partners, especially if we're working for these folks that work the high school and college games. Contact them, let them know what is going on, where we're going to meet at, maybe what uniforms we're going to wear, and then also knowing the game information. You got contacted by your league director saying that you have a situation tonight that you're going to have possibly somebody that's been ejected from the week before. We can't let them play. Or maybe these two teams played earlier in the year and they had problems, and now that the league director is letting you know what the situation is. Plan your drive to the field. This may not seem important, but if you have to go by a situation, like in my case, to get to a couple of the fields around here for league play, I have to go through a set of railroad tracks. So if there's a train going on and it's a long one, I'm going to be delayed a few minutes. The biggest thing that we don't want to do is show up at the last minute at the field, especially if we're working in a situation where where we need our attention to be on the game, and not because we're rushed to get to the field and rushed once we get to the field, trying to get everything ready to go on the field. So those are some of the things that we'll have to look at with planning your route. Ross? The other thing is being on time, which means not at game time. I know in league times, we have a situation where it may be, we get out of work at 5:45, we have to be at the field at 6:15. We understand those things. But we also, if you have a situation where you're done with work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and your game doesn't start until 6, then you've got time. The other thing is too, is if we're in a tournament situation, we should be ready to go on the field as soon as the next game or the game before us ends. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a situation here that we had that I was involved with. We had an umpire that was working their first NCAA regional game. They have the first plate game of the tournament. We are on TV. So we are in the locker room an hour to 2 hours ahead of game time. We're in there, we're just relaxing and so forth. As the game gets closer, he starts getting dressed a little bit. They have already told us that they're going to knock on the door 25 minutes before game time so we can go out there, check bats and so forth. They come to the door at 25 minutes till. Now, like I said, we've been in the locker room for 2 hours. 5 minutes before they get to the locker room, he goes to put on his shoes and busts out a shoestring. So now he has to replace a shoestring. On top of that, now he can't find his belt that he wanted to wear for so forth. So now we walk on the field late, per se. We get into the bat checking that we had to do for the NCAA, where we had to check numbers with the bats and so forth. And now we have a situation with the first team we checked that the bats don't match what's on the paper. We get that taken care of, and now we go to the other side and we have the same situation. Now, as we're trying to get that taken care of, they announce for us, for coaches and umpires, to meet at home plate, which means that we're on the clock and we have to be ready to go when TV comes and we're already behind. The lesson learned there was be ready to go. We shouldn't have teams or anything else waiting on the umpires. We should be waiting for the teams to play. The other thing is that when you get there, talk with your partner on what is going to be your uniform choice. We know what our default uniform is, but keep in mind that maybe we have an umpire that went out, they're fairly new, and they purchased the gray pants, and because they like the navy shirt, they wanted to go with navy. So you, as a veteran umpire, make sure that you have all your uniforms with you and you can discuss that. Have a good pregame with your partner. It doesn't matter if you've worked with this person many a time. It doesn't matter if they're a brand new umpire. Talk about the game. Talk about situations that could come up. Talk about situations that maybe happened last week when you were working with somebody else. The next thing that we have here is walking on the field together. The situation is with this, why we want to walk on the field together. We are the third team on the field. We are going to set an example when we walk on there that we are together as a team. We also want to go on and we want to check equipment together. By doing this, that way, if we have a situation with a helmet or a bat, then we can look at that together and say, okay, this is good, we're going to play with it. If we split and we go one side or the other side, and now we have a situation like that, you have to wait for your partner to come across the diamond to ask them a question. So walk on the field together, check equipment together, and by all means, we're going to talk about post-game here in a minute. We'll talk about leaving the field together again. Be professional. We have situations where sometimes I think we get into a case of, well, this game doesn't really mean a whole lot, so we're going to go out there, we're going to have a good time, we're going to start laughing, and we're going to start doing other things, telling each other stories and so forth. Now what happens with this is the coaches see this as we show up and they're thinking, well, these guys aren't very professional because they're out here laughing and everything, and they're not prepared for the game. So that's what we want to look at. It'll help you as you go into your game. If you already start off by looking professional and being ready to go, now if something comes up, they already know that you guys have your mind on the game and not on other things. Next slide, please. Set the tone with sportsmanship. And this is when we're doing the pregame. At the pregame, we're going to do our introductions. Introduce your partner, like we said last week. Introduce your partners. Go to the coaches. If you know the coaches and you only know one coach, don't use their first name to the one that you know. You know, it's going to be coach at this point. So, whoops, for some reason, give me a second here. Okay, in regards to lineups, go over the lineups. Make sure, like we talked about last week, make sure we have the situation on the lineup cards that's correct. We have a DP and we have a flex. We have all the players listed if we need to, and go from there. We talk about the ground rules, make them very professional, and make your pregame concise and brief. Do the coin flip if necessary, and then when we walk away and we get ready for if we have a time limit on the game, then write down the game time, what time we started. Go ahead, Ross. During the game, this is a situation here that we sometimes, I think, we lack in our game management. Keep the flow going of the game. If you have a situation where the pitchers and catchers are talking to each other, as far as every batter they want to go out there, nip that down. As far as keeping the flow going, find out where your extra game balls are. So now when you have a situation, run over there, get the game balls, you're ready to go. You're not waiting for the game ball to go out of play, and you had one in your ball bag and now you have none, and now we have to wait because the umpire has to go get a game ball. That's what you want to look at. No excessive chatter with the coaches. There's nothing more to me when I'm on the field and I have a situation where I get ready to play ball and I've got, in a 3-umpire system, I have both umpires talking to the base coaches. It's like, no, we don't need this. We're getting ready to play. We need to be ready to play and everything else.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I cannot hear Brian at all.
There seems to be a problem.
Yep, I think we lost Brian. I'm gonna put him on mute, or put the group on mute and call him real quick. And David, do you want to continue on with us?
I can carry on if you can't reach him. Or I can carry on right now if you want.
Yeah, carry on right now and I'll see if I can get a hold of him.
Okay. Hustle to set the example. In other words, if you're asking the players to hustle out there, make sure you're doing the same, okay? So if you're gonna be over there, maybe you've got your two partners or one and you wanna talk to them for a while. Don't wait until it's the pitchers and catchers starts looking at you. Okay, we're ready. You hustle in your spots and be ready to set the game, start the game back up. Be aware of situations. There could be situations that arise that really needs your attention. Maybe there's a little bit of back talk going on. Maybe there's a little batter catcher things going on. Be aware of that and nip it in the bud, okay? You might just want to call time if it's a catcher batter. Go out there, brush the plate off, and just kind of hear it, say it loud enough for them to hear and say, all right, guys, that's enough. I don't want to hear any more. Okay, let's continue. Let's just play ball and have a good time. Things like that. Next. Post game. Very important for a post game. You know, it's one thing that as soon as you're walking off the field, you're starting to say to your partner or whatever, hey, where are we going to go to eat? Blah, blah, blah. First of all, you leave the field together. Don't wait. Don't walk out of separate dugouts. You leave the field together. Be aware of any volatile situations that may have happened during the game that could cause you not to leave from either one dugout or the other. Okay, Brian, I see you're back.
David, thanks. You got to love electronics, you know, but anyhow, I apologize for that. And I think David did a nice job of coming in and pinch hitting for me at this point. And David, you basically hit on a good point as far as leaving the field together, especially if there's been controversy out there. You don't want your partner to take more abuse as they're leaving the field. So get them, go out the dugouts and so forth. But this is all part of the game management. You should know this ahead of time on what dugouts you're going to go out of if there's a situation. Talk to each other during the game and go from there. When you do get back into your locker room area or a dressing area, go over the positives and the things that were a good thing in the game. Go over that. Go over the things to work on for both you and your crew, and then make sure everybody is good to leave when you guys walk out that night. Make sure that the other person's vehicle will start. Make sure that they're good to go and they know where they're going. If we have people that are standing around, just make sure you walk in a group to go out there. And if something happens, then maybe take notes and be aware of your surroundings. And by all means, savor the moment of a job well done. You tie all these together. And like I said, this is more than just dealing with players and coaches. This is your game management. And it goes back to, if you can handle yourself in a game, you should be able to handle the other 20 players that are out there with you. So if we have a question or a comment, I can take one or two of them at this point, and I'm going to turn it over to David if we have anything to comment with.
Just one
Go
thing.
ahead.
Follow up on what Brian said. Remember one thing. You may have left the house and had a little situation with your wife, a significant other, or whether maybe your children. You don't want to carry that onto the game. Okay, if it was some kind of an outburst, don't bring that to the game. And also remember, just like Brian says, you're dealing with 20, 25 other players and coaches out there. Maybe one of those coaches or players had the same situation happen to them that happened to you. So be aware. Don't think that everybody's the same. Everybody's different, just like you are. be aware of that and give somebody maybe a little bit of rope that you normally wouldn't, because you just don't know what their situation is.
All right, without further ado, and David, since you did such a great job of pinch hitting, I'm gonna let you finish up the game for us.
Okay.
Ross will give you your screen. I think Ross, you still there?
I
Oh,
hope.
there we go.
Okay. Here we go. This is typical bad game management, in my opinion, and probably Brian would say the same thing. You've got a coach here who is irate. Now, I don't know when he became irate, but you certainly aren't helping the situation by not paying attention to him. Okay, by bending over and making it seem like brushing off the plate is more important than listening to what he has to yell at you is not a good situation. And this also pertains to brushing off the plate if the coach came out with a lineup change. Okay, make sure that you make the coach feel that he is more important right now than anything else. And so this coach is irate. I'm hoping that his partner, I'm talking about the umpire, his partner or partners are somewhere nearby in case this gets out of hand. That is also good game management. Be aware of the situation. Be aware that you may have to jump in there and peel the coach off so he doesn't get ejected and get back into the game. What we don't need right now is an ejection. Now, will it be warranted? Maybe, not knowing what he's saying, but we don't want to get into that situation. Always want to defuse the time bomb before it actually goes off. And in this case, again, don't know what he's yelling about, but the situation is not being helped. Any questions? Nope. Okay, moving on. Let me click here myself to get a little bigger screen on my end. Okay, here we go. We've got the same type situation, and we've got a player and a few other players, actually a couple players here that are pretty irate. What do you see here? Anybody want to jump in? What do you see here that isn't helping the situation?
There's no other umpire backing them up.
Okay, that's
Well,
one.
Or you can start with the umpire taking his finger and pointing it at the guy.
Yeah.
Aggressively. Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Good point there.
very good point. That isn't helping one bit, is it? Now, he might be saying the thing that you should never say, and that is, you say one more word and you're out of here. We should never paint ourselves in a corner and say something like that. Remember that. That is, if the guy says, okay, if the guy says something polite to you, or maybe just a little bit demeaning, you've already painted yourself in a corner, and now you've got to dump somebody. So this is not good. And obviously pointing the finger at the players is not good. Stand back. Your partner again has to come in here and peel somebody out of here. It should be just a one-on-one discussion, and that should be with just that lead player that he's talking to, and not anybody else. So as umpires, you need to get in there, get these other players out of there, and let them have a one-on-one conversation. And that means when you have a one-on-one conversation, that means you listen as well as talk. Let the player go off a little bit before you can calm him down. Because he's irate. Give him some rope, let him go off, ask him what his problem is, ask him what maybe he saw that you didn't see. If it's a rule interpretation, then ask him to explain what he thought was the rule. It could be just as simple as that, and he could be just dead wrong. So again, this is a situation you do not want right here. You got to have some help. Don't point fingers. Don't look aggressive. Looks like he's actually just took a step forward. In fact, the plate umpire, if you notice, it doesn't look like he's stepping backwards. So that's being an aggressive manner. Okay.
This is obviously a slow pitch game, so it may have been he didn't have a partner.
That could be also, but it doesn't look like a slow pitch with, well, it could be.
Yeah,
He didn't have
Uh,
a mask, so
Yeah,
no
it could-
mask and shorts.
Yep, yeah, it could be, but again, if he's got partners, they should be in there. If he doesn't, well, should do the best you can is all I can say, but don't be the aggressive one.
nice
know,
watch too.
Yep, don't be pointing fingers. Okay, next slide. Again, the ability to effectively and professionally communicate with game participants in order to prevent or resolve situations while umpiring a softball game. That's good game management. This definition describes what an umpire must accomplish through their words, actions, and skill sets to be able to properly manage their game. Okay, again, this is a volatile situation. Whenever you should never get this close to anybody, okay? If you have to back up, back up. Okay, if you have to back up again, back up again. But sooner or later, you're gonna have to hold your ground. Okay, but you need to get, out of this person's face. I don't know what the umpire is pointing at. He might be pointing at a base or where the call was or whatever. That, to me, that finger didn't really upset me too much because it's not directed at him. So again, this is a situation where you've got to communicate. Let him say his words, give him some space. If he starts moving towards you again, you want to say, look, we're going to have this conversation, but we're going to be a few feet apart. Say it kindly, nicely as you can, and then continue on. But these are the things you need to take care of to make it not get out of hand and we have to dump somebody, okay? Next. Components of game management. There's an old word called scrap, okay? And the S stands for self-management. Then you've got crew management. You've got rule management, ambiance management, participant management. We'll touch on each one. If you take self-management out of this little word here, what have you got? You got crap. Okay. So what you want to do is make sure you don't get yourself in such a place that you've now turned the game into crap, because it's just going to get worse. So that's why self-management is very important. Let's back up now, Ross, if you don't mind. Thank you. Crew management. This is something you need to talk about when you're on the field or before you get on the field, and that is how are you going to handle some situations that may get out of hand, or how are you going to handle certain players? If you've got an umpire, for instance, we'll say, has had past problems with a certain player, it might be a good idea to discuss that. And he just brought it up to your attention. You might want to discuss it between any and saying, look, if you have a problem, let me just let me know, and I'll get in there and I'll handle the situation and get you out of there. Okay. This is good crew management. If you have a problem with a play and they want you to go for help and you think you need more information, then call your partner in there and get more information if needed. If they cannot supply more information, like a pulled foot, a swipe tag, or something along those lines, not just to appease them because they wanted somebody to go for help, but you need more information, then do it. And then whatever your partner says happened, and stick with it, and you make the call. It's your call now, and you stick with your call. Whatever information was given to you. If you have to change your call, you change your call. Okay. Be aware when that happens that now you're going to have a coach on the other end of it that's going to be upset. And so that's another thing you've got to be aware of. Once you've made a decision change, somebody else is going to be hot. So you're going to have to be able to diffuse that situation too. Okay. And that's part of your rule management, which is part 3 here. Okay, know your rules. And if you're gonna apply a rule, know the verbiage of the rule. Okay. In other words, if you're gonna call an illegal pitch, and don't be saying a whole lot of verbiage that isn't even in the rule book. Okay, stick to the verbiage that it's in the book. Illegal pitch was you leaped, or you step back instead, and you did something, you didn't step forward when you should have. Anything that, maybe the hand was above the hip. That's all you need to say. You don't need to go into a whole lot, and don't demonstrate. Okay, whatever happened out there, don't demonstrate. Just stand there, give your ruling, give your verbiage, and then let it go. Okay. Ambiance management is how can I say this? It's basically I need some help on this probably, but it's being polite. Okay, that's one thing. It's being polite. It's being letting everybody know that you're here to do a game the best of your ability, and you don't need to say, I'm not going to put up with any more crap, or I'm not going to put up with any more stuff. We're going to do the game and we're going to be nice about everything. Okay, doesn't mean we may not have a problem. If we have a problem, I want you to act like a gentleman or a gentle lady, come out, discuss, call time, come out and discuss things in that manner, and we can solve it. And that's basically a nice way to put it. Okay.
Ambiance management too, it goes to what you're allowing on your field in your entire setting. So
Yes.
example is in a JO game. Are you allowing the coaches to sit outside on the
Yep.
field on their bucket? Or are you making them, push it into the bucket? Are you allowing one coach to do something and another coach to do the other thing? Are there unruly fans that perhaps need to be dealt with?
There you go.
So just more about the setting of the game, and make sure that it's within the spirit of the game, and you're not being, taken advantage of. It goes to, allowing the on deck batter to perhaps use the opposing side batter's box.
Yep, there's all kinds of things where somebody could look at it as favoritism, and you don't want that. Okay, regarding the bucket and play with high school ball coming up, and I don't know how many are on here that do high school ball. I'm assuming quite a few. With high school ball coming up, tell the coach that please have the bucket inside the dugout parameters, and make sure if you're going to sit on it, that you're going to be able to pick the bucket up and move with it if you have to. Now, if he doesn't want to follow those rules, I would just nicely say to him, well, you're not going to like the outcome if a thrown ball hits that bucket. And that's all you have to say. And it's up to him now, okay, or her. Participant management, okay. Again, it's game management. Let's just use participant management when it comes to we'll say lineup changes. Okay, lineup changes should be done quickly and fairly and loudly. Okay, so if you have a coach yelling from the dugout, number 28 blue 23 is in for 16, go over there, have the coach come out, have your lineup card out ready, and say, Coach, did you just say 23 was in for 16? And if he says yes, okay, make that change right while he's standing there or she's standing there. Okay, don't accept a change yelled across the field to you, because one, if the other coach hears that and you say okay, and something happened and it wasn't what he thought he heard, now you got a problem. Okay. And again, the lineup card doesn't become official until you make it official. So when you go over and tell the other coach, which you should also do, is walk over and tell the other coach what the lineup change was, and then proceed from there. That's good participant management, so to speak. Know the rules as far as when there's a player change, when there's a player who is substituted for without reporting. Know those rules. If there's anything you should brush up on, it's those kind of rules, because they can really get you in trouble if you don't remember the verbiage in the book. Okay. High school is a little bit different, especially when it comes to an unreported substitute. And USA softball, an unreported sub is in the game. Okay. Unless that unreported sub got involved in the play before, before he could be called out on it. So, but in high school, an unreported sub is a warning. Okay. If it happens again, now the coach and the player are relegated to the bench. Remember, those are the two nuances between USA and high school federation ball. So be aware of those kind of nuances as far as the rule book. You don't want to get yourself in a pinch. Okay. Any questions on this? Next slide. Pull my big screen up here. Self-management, very important. Attitude. Attitude is so much to do with self-management. Cooperate with all participants, okay, as much as you can. Work with them. If a catcher, if a pitcher is out there putting on a show because the pitcher didn't like your call, your catcher is your best friend. Go out there, brush your plate off. Don't have to make a scene. Brush the plate off and tell the catcher, look, I've had enough of the little showmanship out there. Please go out there and settle her or him down. I don't want to get into a situation where I got to take care of something. Okay. Those kind of things needs to be done, but it needs to be done in a nice, polite way. Solution oriented. Okay. Again, self-management, when it comes to solution oriented type, those words and confident, is to look the part, not just look the part, but be the part and know the rules. Okay. So that when something comes up, you've got a solution for it. No matter what it may be, you've got a solution for it. Now, whether or not they accept that, that's another thing. But you've got to be confident. Say, coach, this is the rule. This is how it states. Now, if you got anything else to say, please say it now. If you don't, we're going to stick with this and we're going to move on. Okay. That's not being cocky. That's just being in self-control of the game. Okay. Appearance. Boy, the uniform says it all. If you go out there and you look like a Shar-Pei dog on the field with your pants and shirt, that is one bad look. Okay. You don't look like an umpire. You look like somebody that just doesn't care. You just want to come out here and make some money and leave. That goes on and off the field. All right. Your uniform should be clean. It should be, your pants should be pressed. Make sure your hems are not dangling down. Your hat is clean. Those kind of things. That's all an appearance of self-management, and it gives the appearance that you really look the part and you know what you're doing. Okay. Signals. Confident calls. Body language says a lot. If you're going to call a strike and it sounds like you were very weak and you go strike, and the next call, it's more of a sound, more of a strike, that kind of gives the appearance that the first one was guess. Okay. You don't want that. There are very concise calls to be made. Body language again says it all. If you kind of shuffle your feet a little bit after you've made a call somewhere, what does that look like? It looks like, well, you kind of doubt yourself a little bit. Okay. That's what you don't want. Again, proper use of voice and tone. We don't need yelling across the field at a coach or a player that upsets you. Go over there. If you've got a player that's putting on a show or has said something to you as they're walking by, go over there and tell the coach, you know, you heard what was said. We don't need any more of it, and move on. Now, if it's a situation where it can't be settled that way, he may have called you an F-bomb and made it personal. That's a little different. But again, you don't need to put on the big show or the big overhand right and toss somebody. You can toss somebody without going through all those mechanics. All right. It's the tone. It's the tone of your voice. It's how you present yourself. Okay. We've got mechanics out there we have to pertain to. We've got signals like, you know, the infield fly rule. We've got a check swing where you go to your partner. Nothing worse than go to your partner for a check swing and they're not looking at you because they were looking down, and now you've got to say their name 2 or 3 times to figure out what happened. That shows somebody that somebody wasn't paying attention. So always be aware of those situations. We've got mechanics to do, and we also should do our mechanics properly. Okay. Use the inside outside theory. If you don't know what that is, it'll be coming up soon. I don't want to cover that tonight, but I'll make it short and sweet. Inside, balls outside the diamond means you come inside, balls inside the diamond, you stay outside. Okay, we've got those mechanics. Positioning. Angles and distances are very important. You should be no closer than 15 feet away on a play, we'll say at first base, where there's a throw to first, because you want to see all 4 elements. You want to see the base, you want to see the ball, you want to see the defense and the offense. Okay, when you make your call, and use timing. You don't want to be too quick on these calls. Timing says everything about management. If you're too quick on a call and the ball gets dropped, you've got 2 things you can do here. You can either eat it or you can change your call and make it proper. Okay. That, to me, nothing worse than having an umpire say she hung on to it long enough when everybody in the park knows it didn't happen. All right. Be honest. If you blew the call, you blew the call. If a coach comes out and says, what happened? I blew it, coach. Can you change it? No. All right. But you're better off being honest than try to lie your way out of it. The hole just gets deeper. Okay. Next slide. You've got your post-game little comments to make to each other. First thing you should say, and Brian does this well, when partners come off the field, he says, well, how do you think your game went? Okay. That's what you should be saying to each other. How do you think the game went? Did we give the proper perception out there that we were in charge but not overbearing? Did we handle everything properly? Did we do what was necessary to keep the game moving? Was there some things we could have done better to get that game in rather than stopping it after 6 innings? Could we have done better and got maybe 7 innings in? No team likes to play less than what they should have got. Okay, how do we do on communication? That's nothing more important than communication out there. Okay, did we arrive on time? Should we have gotten there a little bit earlier? Did we just take too long to get on the field, get the pregame in, and then start the game? Should we have done something different? The plate meeting, how'd that go? You know, discuss it. Discuss everything that pertained to that game and find out how you could have done, what you could have done. Next slide. Rules management. Rules knowledge, league rules. We got different league rules. We got different, sometimes we even have different field rules. We've got championship play, tournament play, those kind of things. Know the rules that you're going to be playing under. Okay. If you're playing high school ball, if you're umpiring high school ball, know those rules. They're different. Their chances are they're 95% right along with USA, but they're still different. Be aware of those. Okay. Know the rules before you go on the field. And if you have to talk to your partner before you go out there, talk about these strange things that could happen. All right. That don't pertain to the normal game. Learn the game, be a student of the game. There's always something out there you should learn. I mean, I very rarely there's something where I leave a game and I say to myself, well, could I have done this better? Or did I learn something from this call? I mean, those things should happen. You should be a student of the game. What could you have done to make a call a little bit better, get a better look, and those kind of things. Understand the philosophy of USA softball, rule book and umpire manual. Okay, there's a philosophy in there. All right, know what it is. And that is being gentlemanly like or ladylike, and being able to listen, being able to talk, being able to give off a persona that you're in charge but not overbearing. It's those kind of philosophies that you need to look at. Okay. Next slide, please. I've got a few minutes here. Anticipation, keeping the pulse on the entire game. Be aware of everything, especially as a plate umpire. Be aware of everything that's going on. Maybe you just notice two players from opposing teams kind of get into a little bit under the breath. Maybe it's a third baseman and the coach, and you all of a sudden this got to your attention. Okay, so be aware of that, and keep a pulse on that situation over there. You may have to step in very quickly, or maybe down the road a little bit, and take care of it. So never let that leave your mind. Remember that. Okay, reading participants' body language and reacting appropriately. They can shrug their shoulders. They can do some things that it tells you that they weren't happy with something, or maybe they'll kind of wave their hand at you. I'm certainly not going to dump somebody because they wave their hand at me. Okay, but I'm going to let them know. Okay, it's those kind of things you got to be aware of. Just the body language of a pitcher, for instance, out there kind of kicking the dirt around, walking around the circle if there's a circle out there, and maybe the slow pitch pitcher didn't care for you too much, and so is kind of standing there holding the ball and looking at you. Be aware of those things and react appropriately. Have patience. This game is also a game of patience, and you need to have patience. Okay, and that includes patience with everybody that's on the field with you. All right. Next slide. Be respectable. Okay, there's nothing more important than respect. You got to earn respect, and you've got to gain respect, and you've also got to give it in order to receive it, and that includes approachability. You've got to be approachable, not standoffish. You got to have lineup management, effective timing, taking and giving changes, those kind of things. I'm trying to rush through this because we're a little short on time as far as the video, and participant engagement. Okay, be aware of all this. Here's a perfect example of what should never happen on the field. Okay, you've got a safe call and you've got an out call. How are you going to handle this? All right, it's a mess. Okay, so but somebody's got to figure it out and come up with a proper call here. So this is where game management really comes in. Okay, and believe me, this can happen right here. Not sure it can happen at home plate like this. I don't know what that other umpire is doing here, but it can happen at, we'll say, third base, for instance, when the plate umpire comes down the line to make a call at third. and the base umpire is shading over and he makes a call too, and it's the wrong one. I mean, they're opposite calls, so be aware of this. Okay,
Actually, this play happened at second base.
oh, did it?
Yeah, the third base umpire came in to make the
Oh,
call.
that's the third base umpire.
The
Okay.
third base umpire's in there. The third baseman is actually, the guy putting the tag is a third baseman covering second,
Oh,
because the shortstop and second baseman went out on the fly ball. So,
okay. Wow. There's a mess.
yeah, the two plays that are at the end of this video, the end of the slides here, David, we don't have to go through.
Okay.
Those
Yeah,
are
I-
just left on there, so,
Play.
yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate everybody. If you got any questions or comments, please wave your hand or do something to get our attention or speak up. Anybody? If not, maybe I should say wake up. No, yeah, I really appreciate it.